Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, Tim. All right. How's everyone? Excellent. Okay, I thought I'd start with a little bit of gratitude. I think that's a way to begin in everything. If you can raise your glasses or coffee mugs or whatever you got. Cheers to you for taking time out today to invest in yourselves, to grow, to let all your time, energy, and money in being here and being present today. So cheers. Cheers to you. Cheers to differentiation, right? I'll drink that after I speak. How about that? Okay, so cheers. I never take it lightly to be in front of a group of my industry peers that I get to serve every single day. So to give you an idea, in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to simply share my story of exactly how I built my business through referral, in the hopes that I can give you some tangible takeaways for your business. I think our business, wouldn't you agree? Business is business. It really doesn't matter. Whether I just sell different things than you. And many of you know me as Cutco Closing Gifts, 12 years in the industry, but that's less than half of my story. I started selling Cutco when I was 4. They gave me a bag of knives. They said, good luck to you. And I don't know, I made it work. I started selling Cutco when I was 18, across from Mr. and Mrs. Jones at the kitchen table. First 15 years, I built my database to 3,000 clients, 100% through referral. Never made a cold call. And that's no lie. So my business is actually the same as yours. I just sell different things. But where it's different is Cutco reps, and there's still restrictions to this day for us, but Cutco reps weren't allowed to build their databases in any other way other than asking for referrals and receiving referrals. There was no online lead gen social media at the time when I started back in 1993. We weren't allowed to have our own personal website, newspaper, print ads, nothing like that. No traditional advertising, no online advertising. You wouldn't see our names on bus benches or our faces or anything like that. We weren't allowed. Door knocking, cold calling, out of the question. So it was me, a sample kit full of sharp, shiny objects, my friends and family asking for referrals, and so on and so forth, asking for referrals, and so on and so forth. So I had to get good at it, right? It was the only way. It was sink or swim. So what I want to share with you today, I don't pretend to know anything you don't already know or maybe haven't heard, but I think maybe I can say something in a little bit of a different way, hence differentiation, give you a fresh perspective that might help you get more referrals this year and beyond. This is a horse I met in the Arctic Circle. What's up with this horse? Notice anything?
You selling knives to horses?
I did not bring my knives to the Arctic Circle. You can't see, right? I mean, okay, so my wife and I went on this epic trip to Iceland, Sweden, and the Arctic Circle a couple years ago. I had to get on this horse to go deep into the forest late at night to see the northern lights. Sadly, they didn't show. Oh, yeah. 50-50 chance. Who knew you could see those in Alberta, right? I mean, somebody should have told me, right? But point is, why I show this is that I had a blind spot for a number of years. You know when you just can't see the thing that's right in front of your face for the longest time? That's why I show this picture. And then the veil's lifted. I never thought that sharing my story of how I built my business would be of value to this industry ever. Why? Because it was my normal. It was no big deal. It was just the way I'd done it. And then people started to hear my story and go, Vani, you should tell the industry this story. And so I was kind of pushed and nudged into doing it. All right, so let me ask you. By the way, I'm never too busy for your referrals. That is awesome. Okay, I heart referrals. Has anyone ever felt awkward asking for referrals? Or hesitated in a moment, right? Have you ever asked and fumbled through it and you're like, oops, that sounded weird and it was kind of uncomfortable. We've all kind of had those moments. Sometimes are there moments in your business where maybe the conditions come off or you moved mountains to make the deal happen and your clients are so excited? Like sometimes there's these great moments, right? And they're so happy, right? Maybe it's possession day, whatever it is. And you're like, they're in such a good mood, I should probably ask for referrals. But it's so un-Canadian to ask, right? They'll see it on my email signature, P.S. I'm never too busy. Hey, I'm all for planting the seed. I heart referrals. I think we'll talk about planting the seed. But I think, sometimes we fumble with it. We were talking at the table about sales being education. How many people feel like sales is education? It's like, I think it's an art. I think it's an incredible thing. And obviously I've reframed what sales is to me, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But whose job is it, if referrals are important to you, to educate your clients that that's the case? Right. Now, are some of you going to get referrals regardless of even if you don't ask? Have you received a referral without asking before? Absolutely, because you're awesome. And referrals are going to come your way, grassroots, kind of organically like that. But where I go with it is how many referrals have we left on the table because we just didn't not only ask, but we didn't plant the seed properly on the front end. And that's what I really want to share with you here today. So what if I told you tomorrow morning when you wake up, you can't build your business in any other way, kind of like what I had to do. You can only build it through referral. What would you do? Start calling. Yeah. I've heard people just tuck back under the covers, right? Would you find a way? Right, or quit real estate. You'd find a way to do it. Would you find a way to do it that was in line with your values and integrity? Like a way that was comfortable for you? You'd get a system in place and a process pretty quickly. And one thing I'll share with you is I get that there's a lot of ways you can build your database, right? Open houses, networking groups, online lead gen, social media. Like it's all there for us. Open houses, door knocking, cold calling, you can do those sorts of things, right? But I'm willing to bet if I'm a family member, a friend, or a colleague, or a client you're currently working with, or a past client, if I give you a referral, you take that piece of business over any other, wouldn't you? 100%. Why? What's that? Trust. Easier. It's all there already. There's so much that you don't have to think about doing when you get a referral. And so what I want to share with you is when I reflect on my first 15 years, there's 2 game changers that got me the confidence to ask for and receive over 10,000 referrals in 15 years and convert those to 3,000 clients. You guys ready for that? Okay. How many of you would like this to just be a little bit easier? If you had a little bit more confidence here, it'd be worth it? Mm-hmm. Okay, and if you didn't raise your hand, you're like, no, I don't want referrals. I'm here for Sue, Nolan. That's fine. Or the mimosas. Just take a little nap. I heard naps are really great for productivity. Otherwise, if you really want to get to know what it is and how to make it easier, here's how to do it. So I have to show you this to take you back to 1993. Okay, just think about 93 for a second. Yeah. This is me when I was 18. I had long hair, big glasses. And this is the first thing that made the difference for me. So I never wanted to be in sales. Does anyone have that story for themselves? Look at me, 26 years later in sales. I never wanted to speak either. It's nuts that I'm doing the things I never ever thought I would do. But I was a university student and I was taking marketing at U of C. And I had a full-time job at admissions at U of C. But I thought to myself, because I was taking marketing, I should probably get a sales job and just put it on my resume. So I applied at various jobs. And I got the job with Cutco. And yeah, does anyone know a Cutco rep in their life? Yeah, awesome. So yeah, they hire every university student. And so I got the job. Yeah, and I took the job with Cutco partly, there's 3 reasons. Number 1 is I wanted to get better with people. I actually wasn't really high on the social IQ, people skills. I don't know if you can tell by that photo. I mean, I look so confident and cool, but I wasn't. And so I really wanted to get better with people. Second reason I took the job with Cutco is they were going to pay me regardless of whether I sold anything or not. So yeah, I would never have started on 100% commission, I don't think, at 18. I just wouldn't. They were going to pay me regardless. And I was like, okay, if you're going to pay me to juggle some knives, cut a penny with my family and friends, I'll take it. And the third reason I took the job with Cutco specifically, I did my research. I didn't know anything about knives when I was 18, but I researched it, and I discovered pretty quickly. Has anyone had Cutco for over 10 years? Just put up their hand. Over 15? Oh, getting there? 20? Are we at 20? Just short? Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I discovered that Cutco was one of the only products in the world and the only knives that were guaranteed beyond a lifetime. People pass it down to their kids. So it's like an heirloom and people love it, use it. And I just thought, okay, I won't be embarrassed to show this to my friends and family. And if they do buy it, then I won't be apologizing for it a year later. So that's actually why I took the job with Cutco. And actually, before I go to that, so here's what started to happen. The job was, I was super trainable. I'm such a student of the business and of life. I don't know if you're like that, but I just am. Give me a textbook, I'll read it, try to memorize things. And they gave me a manual in training. We had 3 days of training where we could role play things, and we kind of role played. The job was to call your friends and family, your inner circle, book practice presentations, show them the knives, have fun, educate them, ask for the order, then ask for referrals. And I had a whole manual thing, and I remember kind of flipping through it. And I remember following it for the most part, but I got to the end and I would go, that's not me, I don't want to sound like a robot. So I would get to the end and be like, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, family member, friend of the family, whatever, neighbor, can you just think of a couple people that might be able to help me out? And just take a look. And that was my referral ask. How did I do? Pretty amazing, huh? Did I ask at least? Yes. Come on, I was building the asking muscle. Really, really buff. How many referrals did I ask for? A couple. So did anyone notice anything about my physiology there or tone? What came across to you? Apologetic, thank you. Yeah, desperate. Help me. Yeah, now the student card's amazing. It kind of worked. People took pity on me, right? And they gave me 1 or 2 referrals, which is what I asked for. One lady gave me the church directory and saved my butt for like a month and a half. But here's what started to happen. I started to sell Cutco despite myself. I wasn't even quote unquote trying. I remember the first family friend, I said, so do you want to go ahead and get the set? And he's like, sure. And it was $800 at the time. Yeah, more than my car. Selling something that was worth more than my car. And he's like, sure. And I said, no way. Like that, I sold him completely out of it. And so, yeah, it was just bad. I was very, very bad. But people started buying Cutco. I started to actually enjoy the job more than I thought. And my number of referrals was unsustainable. And keep in mind, that was the only way I could build my business. So a couple months in, I sat down with my manager and I said, Mark, I'm running low on referrals. I had 12 referrals left and I was out of family and friends. Just think if you were in that position right now. But I know you have other ways to build your database. However, he's like, and I'll never forget this moment because it was life-changing and game-changing for me, and this is so simple, but so true. He's like, Vonnie, ask me for referrals. And I was like, right now? And he's like, sure, yeah, right now, let's role play it. And I turned beet red, and I was like, okay. And I stammered and I stuttered, and he's like, you don't know this? You don't know how to ask? I said, well, I say it different every time, it depends on the people. Made excuses. He said, go home and memorize that thing. And until you know it, don't say it. So I went home and I memorized that thing. And it sounds so basic, but here's what I discovered and why I call this the power of authenticity. It took me about 24 hours to actually memorize, like over a day or a day and a half, and I role played it in front of the mirror and with my roommate. And once I had it, what's interesting is I discovered I didn't sound like a robot. I could make it mine, like an actor memorizing their lines, right? And it was embodied kind of within me. So I'll tell you guys, I haven't done this professionally for over 12 years, but it's in a part of my brain I'll never forget, like my parents' phone number. So I could be like, Iris, here's what you could wake me up at 3 a.m. The house is burning down. You'd be like, ask me for referrals. And I'd be like, what are you doing in my bedroom? And then that's my only joke, and it never works. But I keep trying to say it. It's so funny. I don't know, not a comedian. But I could go, Iris, here's where you could really help me out. It helps me every time I show this, but I can only show people I've been personally referred to. So what most people do is they give me anywhere between 5 to 25 names of people they think would be nice enough to look, not necessarily people that would buy, just people that would be nice. And for every 5 names you give me, I get to enter your name in this shopping spree thing. And for 20 referrals today, I get to buy you a Cutco peeler. Here's a pen and paper, jot down as many as you can. I'd love to see you win. I'm just gonna go clean up my knives. That would never work in real estate, ever. However, minus the words, what do you guys notice about anything there, different than what the beginning approach was that I showed you? Was it a little bit more confident?
You didn't leave room for a no.
That's true. There's an expectation there. I have a colleague that says never ask for referrals, just expect them. I think that's kind of a cool, it's like a different way of being. But here's what I discovered even about the authenticity piece is when I knew what I was supposed to say, I was totally present, and I shortened the learning curve and the confidence curve, because most of us learn by doing, don't we? Some of us have been in the business a long time, and we know our listing presentations and buyer presentations because we've done it so many times we learn it. But on the referral front, I'm not saying memorize everything or script everything out, but sometimes if you want to gain even more confidence and just shorten the confidence learning curve, practice backstage before you actually bring it out. We know this for sports, we know this for a lot of things, but do we do it in our business? If you had a TED Talk in a couple months, you'd practice it most likely, or you'd have an idea of what you're saying. So there's certain things in your business you'll gain confidence if you practice behind the scenes. How many of you have seen my Cutco Closing Gifts presentation? Yeah, that started as a 6-minute presentation 12 years ago. I memorized that thing. I practiced. Why? Because I was nervous as heck to get in front of a group of people, but I wanted to gain the confidence, and I wanted to be present with the people in the room and not be thinking about what I was going to say next. Make sense? All right. Anybody want to know how I'd ask for referrals in real estate?
Let's hear it.
Oh, thanks, Ben. Sweet. Right on there. Okay, now actually, here's the thing. I'm going to give you something even better than the ask itself, because I think, and I will say something about the ask, I think you need to craft your 1 to 2 sentence ask that is yours, that makes sense for you. You know, mine would be something like, and this is after planting the seed, which I'm going to give you a script for, which I'm going to share with you, because I think that's the most important. But I think you have to have an ask that's like, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you know, who do you know out of your circle of friends that might be buying or selling in the next 6 months to a year that you'd feel comfortable introducing me to? I'd love to help them. My goal is to help 40 families this year through referral, and I want to build my business through referral. So you've got to have that piece for you roll off your tongue, right? But has anyone ever wondered when to bring up referrals? Yeah? Okay. The top agents that I work with and talk to about this all say the same thing, and this is called planting the seed. And I'm going to role play it with you as if I'm your realtor, all right? And Stu, will you be? You can just sit there and look great like that. Look pretty. Look handsome. You're going to be my client, okay? And the stage that's set here, and this is really important, this is at the beginning. Stu and I have just agreed we are working together. And I've asked you everything that's important to you first. Make sense, guys? I've asked him all the questions about the buying or selling of this home. It's all been about you, okay? Now it's about me now. Just kidding, okay. Now I'm going to take my little script. Okay, so Stu, hey, Stu, I really appreciate you sharing all this with me because it really allows me to do my job well and to get the job done for you that we just talked about. Do you mind if I share the 3 objectives I have in working together with you?
Not at all.
What did you say?
Not at all.
If you'd said, I don't want to hear them, we'd be done here. The first objective, Stu, is to get done everything that you just talked about. You know, to get your exact dollar value or really close to it. Okay, that's number 1. The second is I want to have this process be relatively smooth for you. You know, just like life, real estate transactions aren't perfect and there might be a few bumps along the way. But my aim is to always be one step ahead of you. So you're not ever wondering what's happening next, when's the appraiser coming. I want to take all that confusion out of it for you. Okay. And the third objective is I want to do such a good job for you that when you think of real estate, you think of me. You know, whether it's for you or your friends and family, when there's a real estate question, I'd love for you to put them in touch with me. And I want to earn that right by doing such a great job for you and earning your trust. Okay? So would you promise me that anytime during this process, Stu, if you're ever confused or something I'm doing or saying doesn't make sense to you or doesn't seem like it's in your best interest, will you please let me know so we can keep the communications open and get this thing done for you?
Absolutely.
Cool. What do you guys think of that? Okay, I have these handouts. There's 2 approaches, and they're at the back. So you could also stand in front of your mirror and role play something like that. Okay. Could you see saying something like that to clients in the beginning? Really client-centered and focused? Cool. This is the Ice Hotel in the Arctic Circle. I slept in this bed. It was -5 the whole night. It was the worst. Don't ever do it. It's a horrible, horrible experience. Terrible. I won't go into it. Don't have time. But dog sledding was way more fun than sleeping in this room. The reason I show you this is because, has anyone heard of the website trustedhousesitters.com? Yeah, it's like the Airbnb for house sitters. And me and my wife, before we left, we hired a house sitter to look after our cat in our house. We don't have kids, we have a cat. So this is our kid, our cat. And so we interviewed this woman off the website, came with a lot of reviews, and we interviewed her. Her name was Deb. Half hour after, we accepted her for the job to come into our home and look after our cat, our most prized possession, and our home, right? Our home too, right? Really important thing. And at the end, she does this to us. She says, I'm going to do a great job for you guys. It's going to be awesome. And if you feel that way at the end about the job I did, all I ask for is a great review. That's it, because it's so competitive in the European house sitting market. That's all she said. It was 2 sentences. I didn't even think anything of it. We left for 10 days. We came back. She had done a great job. She'd sent us pictures of our cat and a video, so we knew our cat wasn't dead. It was great. Like what you do. You go the extra mile. She did. And we came back and we were so appreciative of the job she did. I'm shaking her hand as she's heading out of our house, and she didn't even have to ask. She said, or I said, Deb, we're going to get you that review tomorrow. We're going to make a special point of doing that, and we did. She didn't even have to ask because of how well she planted the seed on the front end. Make sense? So it doesn't have to be a big, long script, but just the idea of it. That's how to educate your clients on the front end. Okay, now this is just a few minutes, the power of mindset. But I'm just going to walk you through this. Now, some of you might be already here in your heads and in your hearts. But for me, this is the paradigm shift that occurred for me and got me to 100% conviction in why I needed to get so good at the referral thing. Now, has anyone ever read The Go-Giver or heard the audiobook? It's a great little read. It's a great little audio book, a little fable. And the author speaks about 3 levels in business: survive, save, and serve. Now, would you agree that I was at the survival level in the beginning? Yeah. And if anyone's there, that's awesome. Like, that's a level. And then I started to get referrals, and then I was saving those referrals for a rainy day, you know. Then I got to this serve level. And I'll take you there, hopefully. In your business, let's relate this to real estate. If someone doesn't get referred to the right realtor, what can happen to them? And, they're all the right realtors. I'm not supposed to say this, I don't think, but are there some realtors in the industry, and I'll say it anyway, that maybe some out there, not in this room, that maybe don't put their clients' best interests at heart? Okay, we won't talk about them, but they are out there. Okay, so what I mean by the right realtor, you don't have to be perfect to get referrals, you just have to put your client's best interests at heart, right? So what can tangibly happen to a client if they don't get referred to the right realtor for that? Bad experience, yeah. They can talk up realtors and how terrible realtors are with all their friends. What else? Can anything happen to them tangibly? Like,
Lose a lot of money.
Could they lose money? That's what I'm getting at, Christine. Thank you. Could it affect like tens of thousands of dollars if somebody does not really? Yeah. And some of you that have been in the business probably are really, you've heard those stories. So, stay with me here. I'm guessing, is what you do important? It's critically important. We know that. I'm guessing you're passionate about what you do, right, for your clients? I'm guessing you care about your clients a lot, right? So if you care that much about your clients, shouldn't you care that much about their friends and family? Because these are their sons and daughters and uncles and aunts and neighbors. This is the most Canadian way I know to guilt you into getting good at this. Why? Because I think you actually owe it to your clients to get good at this referral thing so that their experience and their friends and family's real estate experience doesn't potentially hang in the balance with the wrong realtor. And obviously you have to believe you're referral worthy, but every single person that I know in this room is totally referral worthy. Get good at this thing so you can serve more people well, right? That's where I landed with it. So the paradigm shift for me was, if I don't ask, no one gets to have this experience with me, right? What if asking for referrals is not about me at all? My commission's on a deal or gone in however long, but they're well served in the most important transaction of their lives. So it's a total win-win. Does that make sense? So when you ask for something, there's vulnerability in asking for anything, isn't there? I mean, that's why Tinder, so there's no vulnerability there, you know? But there's vulnerability in there. But if you come from a place of asking for, how can I help, when you ask for anything, it's a powerful paradigm shift. How can I serve? All right. And if you're planting the seed for referrals and you're asking and you're planting those seeds, you will get more referrals just by talking about it, just by letting people know. And then you have to have, of course, systems in place for gratitude. If we say referrals mean the world to us and 3 days later we realize we forgot to thank or text a client or send a handwritten thank you card, Starbucks gift card, whatever, to acknowledge, are we somehow out of integrity on that? A little bit, right? And by the way, I love talking about gratitude, not just because I'm the gift lady in the industry. I love talking about gratitude because I think it's a powerful thing in business and in life. And what I mean by that, has anyone ever heard what you appreciate appreciates? Or what you focus on expands? And all I mean by this is if Carlin did something for me and I paused for a moment and just let Carlin know how much I appreciated it and what it meant to me, just for that moment, and acknowledged him, do you think, without strings attached, without strings attached, do you think that behavior that he just did or did at some point for me might recur? More likely, right? This is just human behavior, science, all right? Do you think it can go the opposite way when we don't acknowledge or appreciate, right? And this is, I think, a stat that kind of speaks to that a little bit. 68% of consumers leave their salesperson because they feel you're indifferent to their relationship. Now, this is a perceived indifference. We can't control it necessarily, but can we influence it? Right. And to me, this means they don't feel cared for, they don't feel the love, they don't feel like you're paying attention. You know, it's, and here's what I'm not saying. People don't refer you to get something from you. I'm not saying that. People don't choose you to get a gift. And this is more than just gifting. It's wouldn't you guys agree everyone loves to be appreciated and acknowledged? Yeah. And it really is about, I think, giving, whether it's verbal acknowledgement, a handwritten thank you card, a gift, these are all opportunities we have to acknowledge and appreciate people. My wife is actually 10 years younger than me, 35, and she's so tail end of the millennials. And she said to me the other day, she's like, I love it when a company calls me, and if there's some level of a personal relationship, something, and just checks in and sees how I'm doing. Because nobody does that anymore. I think we're all afraid to sometimes hassle, we don't want to do that. But check-ins and just making sure people, they know you appreciate them. It's really powerful. I think gratitude unlocks loyalty. I think gratitude unlocks referrals. It's pretty incredible. And I'll just end, I just thought I'd put this on a screen because this is my why. This is why I get up in the morning. I'll tell you, 26 years in business, and I only crafted this vision statement about 2 years ago, just so you know. But that's my vision statement. Has anyone read Simon Sinek or heard his TED Talk start with why? That's another way to differentiate, is to know why you are doing what you're doing for people. Simon says, that was funny. I didn't mean to even do that. See, I'm always funny when I don't try to be funny. Learn from that. Yeah, he says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That's another differentiator. If you can share your vision about why you're doing what you're doing, it's quite powerful. And this is one of my favorite quotes to finish off, is giving starts the receiving process. And the key with this is no strings attached. And I know sometimes in this market, people pull the purse strings back, for sure, but when it's client-facing, and I'll tell you, we spent more on gifts than ever before last year, and our sales were up 40,000. So it's just doesn't matter necessarily what gift, it's just giving, acknowledgement, doesn't have to be epic. And I'll finish with this 2-minute story, is I was at that Krebs function, the luncheon where they give you the champagne, like this event at 11 a.m. So I was drunk by noon. And I'm kidding, I actually wasn't. I wasn't. So I was walking around with the champagne, and I was schmoozing with my clients, and I was having a great time. I'll tell you, I love serving this industry. I do. And I was talking to people, this, that, whatever, and I saw one of my clients, Ray Todd from Remax, and I walked right up to him, and he was talking to another, turned out to be a top agent. I won't say his name, but we were kind of in a circle, the three of us, and I think this brings it all together for me, referral-wise and appreciation-wise, what I just talked about. So we're talking, and Ray turns to me, and he's like, he says to the top agent guy, he's like, you should talk to Vonnie about her gifts. They're amazing. We've used them for years. People love them. So the referral is kind of being passed, right? The ball is being thrown. And I catch it, and I'm like, juggling with my champagne. And so I'm like, oh, suddenly I'm doing the elevator pitch. Because the top guy looks at me. He's like, oh, tell me more. Super open guy. I love it when people are just open to new ideas. And I said, well, it's Cutco. We use Cutco mainly. We partner with them for gifts. And I said, have you heard of Cutco? He's like, well, I've heard of it. I've heard they're really good, but we don't have it at home. And I said, yeah, well, basically we take a really high-end product, we engrave it, personalize it to the client or with your logo, whatever you like, put it in gift packages, and you give it to clients, and it doesn't get consumed like a basket or gift card. So I'm doing that. 20 seconds in, the light bulb goes off for him. And you can see he just gets it. He's like, well, that's a no-brainer. Hands me his business card and goes, follow up with me. And so I'm like, every single client of mine in the room here knows I'm like, I'll follow up. I'm good like that. And so I take his card, and we end up chatting a bit more. I go home, and I look at that. I'm like, am I going to call him? Or I'm going to send him a knife, because that's just what I do. So I get a knife engraved, made especially for his name, and I send it to him with a card that says, I so enjoyed meeting you. Thank you so much for being open to new ideas. I really appreciate that. No strings attached. I just wanted you and your family to have a piece of Cutco in your home. If you ever order gifts, you'll know how great they are. If you don't order gifts, you'll know how great they are. And I put a Band-Aid in with, for, you guys get it. So anyway, 2 months later, he becomes a client. Isn't that great? That's not totally the end of the story. Is about a year ago, so they'd had their Cutco for about a year and giving it out to clients. I see him at an event, this guy. He pulls me aside. He's like, Vonnie, oh my God, yeah, our clients love them, but every time my wife and I use these, we cut ourselves, and we think of you. And I was like, boom, that's exactly top of mind right there. That's it. That's my story. So ask and you shall receive, give and you shall receive. Thank you so much. That's it. So what I'd love is everybody, talk at your tables about maybe systems for referrals that work for you. Share anything related to referrals, and we'll keep this moving along. Thank you so much.